Hello, guys. How are you? It's always fun every week. I spend time trying to, quote, figure out what am I going to talk about. And I realized that it doesn't matter what I think I want to talk about, because the moment I turn on the mic and close my eyes and speak, whatever was meant to have been recorded is what comes out of my mouth. There's no amount of planning, no amount of preparation, no amount of wondering or worrying, will I be able to, speak, or what will I talk about, right? In the next episode. It doesn't matter. That's wasted energy, because the moment I turn on the mic, the words flow. This is pretty meta, right? As it stands. I had a conversation with my cousin yesterday, Sub J, and he's trading. He's learning to be I think a Forex trader, and he has all of the metrics down, so he gets it. What he's struggling with is the psychology of it. Right. So he figures out his charts. He, does whatever the terminology is, where he knows when to kind of go in, and then he sees his profit. So he on paper knows what he's doing. But the issue becomes when to take profits. That's his issue. And he will give advice to other people, right? And they'll follow his same charts. And other people that he's given advice to are doing really well, based largely on his advice. But for some reason, he cannot make the advice that he gives out work for him. And what I said to him was this: you are trying to be a trader. Stop trying to be a trader. Stop trying to make money. Just make money, right? So he'll have, he'll put his funds in. He'll see that it's up 6% or 2% or whatever percent, but he's up. There's money on the table. And at any point in time, all he has to do is push a button and instant money, right? But for whatever reason, he allows his internal monologue to convince him that all he has to do is just keep holding on, and it's going to keep going up. And my thought process as I heard this was, but you have money there. You're doing this not to be a trader, right? The reason why you're trying to be a trader isn't so that you can be a trader. The reason why you're trying to be a trader is because you want to make money. Well, there's money. It's right there. Just take it. It's free. All right. Like, it's sitting there. You've done the hard work. And there are a lot of people who work hard, like hard manual labor, to earn in a day what you can potentially earn in a few hours just by knowing when to take it. Right. But in his mind, for whatever reason, there's a lot of things happening. First, he thinks that by sheer force of will, because he desires, that's going to be the operative word of the day, because he desires for his percentage gain to keep going up, somehow the market will bow to his whims, right? He's not looking at the fact that, look, you're up. By whatever miracle, you've managed to follow, the big fishes, and they have left money on the table. Take it, right? In his mind, he just feels, he hopes, that's another word, he desires for his gains to just keep going up. And time again, he takes L's. And so what I said to him was, your problem here is hope, right? Hope is dangerous. It's one of my favorite sayings that I came up with. And it goes, there's a reason why hope was in Pandora's box of evils. Hope is dangerous. Hope feeds into our illusion of control. Hope feeds into our illusion that our will, that we can exert our will over the grand design, of which we are just a piece of the grand design, right? So that is hope. And on one end, I can hear some people saying, well, there's nothing wrong with hope. You have to hope for something so that you can achieve something. No, you don't. Right? Just go and do it. The hope is just an added sort of thing. It's an add-on, right? Let's simplify it. Okay. If I wake up this morning, right, and there's something that I need to achieve, which is I need to go brush my teeth. Okay. I just have to get up and go brush my teeth. Hope that doesn't play any part in it, except to introduce this air of desperation to suggest that perhaps there's a probability that I may not be able to go brush my teeth, right? Which is already kind of built in, because before I get from my bed to my bathroom, I might get struck by lightning or an asteroid or whatever, have a heart attack, right? But I don't really consider that. I just go and brush my teeth. It's the same thing with painting, right? Hope should not come into play, right? There was a time when I first started painting, and I would do what my cousin is trying to do now in the early stages of trading. Instead of painting, instead of creating art, I was trying to be an artist. Right? And so I would sit down in front of a canvas and I would hope that the work, that the painting will turn out exactly the way I wanted it to turn out. Right? And so there were certain techniques or certain things, right, I would try to do, try to think, try to work, try to be very precise, right? Most importantly, I was trying to control the process. And my pieces that I created back then, there was also a lot of frustration behind it, because rather than just letting the art flow through me, which is what I do now, I was trying to be something. I was trying to play the role of artist as opposed to just creating. Just allowing, just literally just being there as a vessel for the art to kind of flow through me. If you can really understand what is being said here and sort of wrap your mind around it, I guarantee you life becomes a lot less heavy. I am back on my Osho kick. So those of you who know, right around this time last year, I was like binging Osho. And I was talking to somebody and they mentioned Sadhguru. I might be saying that improperly, but they were like, have you heard of this sort of Eastern mystic, modern Eastern mystic? And I said, no. But because that person, the individual, mentioned Sadhguru, I was like, I need to go back and revisit Osho. Now, I've got about 34 lectures, Osho lectures. And there was a time when I would like binge it, right? Like he was my drug. Say what you will about the individual, a fool looks at the finger that's pointing to the sky, right? So the idea is I don't care about the controversy around Osho. He was, at the end of the day, still confined within an ego, still confined within a persona. He's not perfect. I need you guys to understand, right? So we talk about a lot of rules within this reality. One of the rules in this reality is that in order for you to exist in this world, you cannot be perfect. Perfection is a myth. It is unattainable. Or at least maybe a different way of saying it is that our idea of what perfection is impossible. It is impossible. So either you just throw out the idea that the perfection is attainable, right? A human being that is not flawed in some way. Or you can look at it from a different perspective and say that what we consider our flaws are actually just more character traits that make us unique. right? That make us unique and make us works of art. So what society has convinced us are our flaws are actually just more like quirks, character traits that differentiate one individual from another, right? Like works of art, right? We don't want sort of like, because think about it, when you look at a human being, we're all basically the same. 2 feet, 2 legs, 2 knees, a heart, 2 eyes. It all like, it's the same prototype. It's the same sort of cookie cutter, right? It's from, we have slight variations in skin or whatever. But we're all basically the same, right? There's nobody walking around with 4 arms and, 6 legs or half horse, half. We're all the same, right? But in order for us, for each, it's like a work of art, like painting, right? I paint. Somebody asked me what I do, or to define my art, which I don't like to do, but I did like the question. It was a good exercise because the answer that it came up with when I was prompted with the question, like, put a smile on my face. And I said, I paint goddesses. All right. There's only I think I've only painted 3 males so far. In the future, maybe. But right now, my primary focus is, gorgeous, beautiful, striking, strong, powerful, dominant women. Right. And so when I was just asked this yesterday, and I said, I paint goddesses. And it clicked. I'd never even thought about it like that before, but I did like it. It clicked. But if you look at each painting, right, even though it's 2 eyes, a nose and a mouth, because of the slight variations, right, those variations in the brow distance or the arc of the brow or the thickness or thinness of the brow, the size of the eyes, or the color of the eyes, or the shape of the nose, or the fullness or thinness of lips, all of these slight variations are what make each painting sort of unique. Otherwise, I would literally just be painting the same sort of the same individual over and over and over again, right? But then that is almost like an idealization, and that's boring, and that shows a lack of variety or creativity or imagination in myself, the artist, right? It's also like an artificial construct, right? If something that is perfect, exactly the same over and over again, you can look at that and say that was not made by man, it was made by a machine. Sort of thing, right? That perfect cookie cutter thing. And then when man touches it, when human touches it, when woman touches it, touches anything that's sort of like a perfect carbon copy, we go in and our natural instinct is to modify, to shape it in a way to make it unique, which is why I sort of like to play with the idea. I've done this in the past. I like to play with the idea of Bible, right? It says, I'm not a Christian, but truth is, you pull truth from whatever source you can. And so the Bible says we were created in the image of the gods, male and females, right? The Elohim, the gods, plural, right? It has been sort of contorted through time, but at the time that it was written, it was polytheistic. This Abrahamic religion was polytheistic, but I digress. We've talked about this in other episodes, but that's not the point. I don't want to get distracted. So, and what I've said is that we were simulated in the image of the true humans. So whoever created us, our forms, at the very least, the bodies that we occupy, right? It's a mirror. It's a reflection. They are just like us, which is why throughout mythology, and different, even from culture to culture, right, you'll find that how humanity defines their gods you look at the gods and they're just like us. All right. So they would, they lusted and they were murderous and they were envious but they were also, joyful and loving and kind. It's the same thing. We were created in their image, although some philosophers have argued that man creates God in man's image. Depends on what your perspective is. All are valid, right? It works both ways. But so it makes sense that when we create, right, unless you're mass producing something which is just soulless and dead, right? Then that's not art, right? So mass produced, we don't call that art, right? It's just more for function, right? Efficiency, which we see a lot of that as well. But I guess yes, we do see a lot of that in nature. Okay. I was hesitant to say this because I know some people come in and then they go like, okay, well, that's not, you can't say that. No, I can, because when you do look in nature, like ants look the same, right? They're all the same, most wild animals are, but that's efficient. They were mass produced, right? And not to say that something that's mass produced doesn't serve as function, right? Right? Your chair that you're sitting in is mass produced. It serves as function. It's economical, right? But there also exists chairs that are custom, right? Customized, and that are, they have the finishing touches of an artist. And there are human beings who are mass produced, right? And then there are human beings that you could see that's, somebody has customized them and they have the finishing touches of an artist. So it's not just animals, it's across the board on this planet. There are individuals who are, sort of mass produced in a sense, but still slight variations. And then there are individuals that are just like, whoa, like somebody took the time to like shape you into what you are. You are customized like work of art. And it's not a negative reflection on this, that, and the other, or one individual to another. But if we're pulling in the simulation hypothesis, you can kind of still see the same mindset apply, right? So a mass-produced individual with slight variations, let's talk about The Sims, right? There's certain tweaks here and there, right? Customized by the individual that is controlling the avatar. But then there's some people who go all out and like will flesh out like and customize the skin of their Sims, right? Or the skin of their avatars in whatever MMORPG is. It doesn't make them special. It just means that the consciousness that's controlling the avatar, just belong to somebody who just really wanted to like customize their avatar, and that's it. So there's no negative spin here. Don't take it the wrong way. It's just, it depends on what function, what certain individual is playing. And look, I'm not an ant, but I'm sure that if I took the time to study like a colony of ants, after a while, I would find like, hey, that one ant over there might be like an artist ant, right? It's usually that one ant that you see kind of walking away from the rest of the colony. And you're just like, hey, well, what are you doing here, buddy? Right? Like, that's an artist ant, right? That's a sculptor ant. That's a writer ant. That's a poet ant. And those are little guys I like to like stop and watch, like, yeah, I feel you, buddy, right? And he might be a little bit smaller than the rest, or she might be a little bit like a different color, right? But, that's just a quirk, and it's a different function. That even within itself, that quirky ant is performing a different function than the other ones. It doesn't mean that he's greater than or she's greater than this quirky ant than the rest of them. It's just the function that she is performing, right? Like the queen ant or the queen bee or whatever. It's just different than, say, what the other ones are performing. But they're all working towards a greater good. Okay, so just keep all of that in mind. Okay, so in the past, for example, on past episodes, I've said, like, I don't think everyone is conscious. And the analogy that I use is I equated, just levels of consciousness to like intelligence. And I said that intelligence and consciousness are more or less, to me, this is my interpretation. This is a philosophical podcast. So I'm going to interpret things the way I want to. And you have the freedom to do the same, right? Pull from my ideas and form your own philosophy. All the philosophers that we venerate, right? Schopenhauer, Kant, Seneca, King, right? All of them, Rumi, they pulled from the ideas. They had the same brains that we did, the same thinking processes that we did, the capacity to think and create, and then they formed their own philosophy. So I encourage you to do that as well. This is just my personal philosophy. I don't expect you to take it at gospel. Please don't. Some people listen for entertainment. Some people listen because it's just, the ideas that we discuss in the podcast just have a nice, really kind of fun way of expanding the mind. But I encourage you, form your own philosophy, right? Customize your own mind. Okay. So back. Yeah, but that's how I define consciousness. I think that there are just some people who, you loop this world enough times and you develop what we call intelligence or whatever. You just become sort of aware and sentient. And it's not to say that those who are not quite there yet, right, have not yet gained sentience or consciousness, won't ever attain to that. It's just they haven't looped enough. Okay, and I'm going to explain what I mean by that in a moment. But it also doesn't mean that people who are more conscious or sentient are better than. That's bullshit. And so that's not what I'm meaning here. It's not an air of superiority that I'm projecting here. This week alone, I've had a couple people reach out to me and they've said to me, can I say that you are enlightened? Or they've used the term enlightened to define me. And my response to that is, thank you for saying that. I don't think enlightenment is that big of a deal. Okay. A lot of us have been programmed with this idea that enlightenment is something that you have to sort of attain, right? It's something that you have to aspire towards. And I'm grateful for being inspired to go back and listen to Osho. It's so funny. You listen to a book one time or you read a book the first time, and where are you at? Mentally, where you are spiritually, the book is going to hit you in one way. And then a year later, I listened to the same fucking book and I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's like reading a whole new book again. And I know in a year from now, I'm going to read it again. And then there's going to be more stuff that didn't click for me, the second read or the third read. But because of how I'm growing, that same book will hit different again and again and again. So I encourage you guys, even with the podcast, if you've listened to podcasts before, I go back and, when I have the time and re-listen to some of my own podcasts and I'm like, holy shit, I missed that even when the words were coming out of my mouth. Because what you guys need to understand is, like I said at the beginning of this episode, it's not, I could sit and waste my time thinking, okay, I got to sit and write out what I want to talk about. But at the end of the day, when I turn on the mic, and I close my eyes and I start talking, it's not even being generated in the mind. It's just whatever it is I'm tapping into is coming out of my mouth, and all I'm doing is operating as a vessel. That's it. I don't take credit for this stuff. I just happen to be the particular avatar in which these words are finding their way into this reality and into your minds and out there into this world. That's it. Okay? But going back to enlightenment, trying to be enlightened is like trying to be an artist. Like I was trying to be an artist. A couple of people on the Discord chat, right now, I think, are actually having a conversation about eating meat. And I kind of read what people were saying, and some people were saying don't eat meat, and other people were saying, well, it makes sense for me to eat meat. And my response, I just kind of threw my own 2 cents in, and it's a controversial topic, but my response is eat what you want. And when you reach a moment in your time when you no longer want to eat meat, then you won't. Okay? It doesn't make any sense to stress yourself out. I've just started, here's an example. I just started working out for the first time in my adult life at the beginning of this year. Late last year, beginning of this year. And I ate relatively clean. I don't eat processed foods. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do drugs, no weed, nothing like that. I don't drink milk. I don't eat gluten. But I did that more because my body reacted to a lot of this stuff. But then as I started working out and I started looking in the mirror, and I started feeling better and noticing the changes, all of a sudden I started cooking more. So up until the beginning of this year, I would eat out a lot, lots of takeout. But then I was just all of a sudden, something changed. And I was like, "Ugh, I don't want to order a takeout anymore because I don't know what they're putting in my food. I don't know what ingredients you're using. When I cook, I at least know that it's all organic. I know what's going in my food. And because I know what's going in my food, I know what I'm putting in my body. And I'm loving the way my body is looking. So I want to take more control over what, at the very least anyway, I think I'm putting in my body, right? Just a little bit better that way. And then I started craving more fruits and veggies, right? I found that I would maybe crave meats. So I eat elk. Just had elk yesterday. I'm not a vegan. And I'm not going to apologize for not being a vegan. I did attempt it in the past out of compassion, but this body at the time that I attempted it, I don't know if it's because of my blood type. I don't know what it is, but I was falling asleep all the time, even with taking the right vitamins, B12, D, A, all of that. I was seeing a naturopathic doctor. They were testing my blood, but I got borderline fucking anemic, excuse my language. I was listless. My eyes were white. I was deep mood swings, and I was frail, and it did not work for me. It just didn't work for this body that I happen to be occupying right now. So I'm not going to waste away. It wasn't a healthy option for me. So I wasn't going to put myself through unnecessary suffering because my mind that was the right thing or the enlightened thing or the thing that I should be doing while I was on this path. It wasn't working for my body, right? And if you look throughout history, even the most spiritual cultures, they still hunted, right? They still you hunt and you raise eggs or whatever it is. And then you pray to the food and you thank the universe for the food, or you thank your God for the food, and then you consume it, but you're mindful of what you're consuming. There are ways to eat consciously, right? You can shop from local farms, or you know what I mean? Buy local, where you can go to a farm and get to know your local farmers and then, purchase, from them and make sure that you can see that how they're living and it's, ethical, whatever it is. But if it works for your body, some people can just consume, all meat. I'm sorry, not all meat, no meat, and just all plant-based, completely 100% plant-based, and it doesn't affect them. Good. But I would not encourage, I personally, I'm not trying to tell anybody how to live, but I personally am not going to encourage a person living in a way that's detrimental to their health and well-being. All right, we've had several episodes on pain, but I'm not a masochist. And I would not recommend that yet to anyone. It's one thing to learn to tolerate pain when you're going through it. It's another thing to put yourself in situations where you are adding to your pain. There's going to come a time, if that is the path that you're on, eventually you will reach a point where you will figure it out. So I'm at that point now where I'm eating a lot more sprouts. I used to buy a lot of sprouts at broccoli sprouts, but they would literally spoil in the fridge. And now I'm having smoothies every day, right? Broccoli sprouts with kale and bee powder and cacao and maca and mushrooms. All of this I'm doing with oat milk, right? So predominantly, I would say I'm 95% plant-based. Okay, but there's still 5% that I consume. And maybe there'll come a time when I become so, well balanced and I understand what works in my body, that 95% becomes 98%. And then maybe that 98% becomes 100%. But what I'm not going to do is stress myself out or beat myself up, right? Or allow myself to feel guilty for how I behave or what I consume, because I'm just not at that point in my life yet where that's clicked for me, and that's okay. You don't have to defend. We're also defensive. You don't have to defend who you are and what you are to anybody. And you also don't have to accept judgment from anybody as to where you are in whatever path that you are right now. Because at the end of the day, as you guys know, and some of you know what I'm about to say, you're not in control. You're not in control. So just play your part until your part changes. Okay, this is a quote that I got from Osho that I wrote down. It was very poignant to me. Two quotes actually. One, it says, "This place, Earth, this place is not your home. You are a wanderer here. Nothing belongs to you." And then he says, "Drop intentions, drop desires, and just move moment to moment with reality. Wherever it leads, become a driftwood. Just float with the stream." Now, I've listened to that. I heard that quote before. I've read it before when I listened to this book, this talk, a year ago. And the talk is "The Buddha Said, Meeting the Challenge of Life's Difficulties." It's Osho talk, so in case you want to check it out. And it clicked, but it didn't click deep for me like it did a year later. After all of my readings I've done on, determinism versus free will, those same words then took on a different tone. I have watched my life, particularly within the last 3-4 months, where I've sort of desperately tried to control everything and realize that I'm not in fucking control. And more importantly, the path that I'm on is going to play itself out. All I'm doing is struggling against it, right? In the meantime, what's the point of struggling, right? If you're floating down the stream, and the wave of the current is pushing you, and it's a strong wave, right? You can either try to struggle against it, but if the wave is stronger than you, all you're doing is making yourself tired. You're still going to go down that fucking stream. All you're doing is making yourself tired. So you might as well just let go and float. And what I'm saying is the stream of life, there's this grand sort of like architect. We're told, so I've talked about on this podcast, I've talked about experts, which ones are experts, right? But there's these general beliefs that have been shoved down our throats, right? About the nature of reality. We're told, and I've railed against this over and over again, we're told we're insignificant nothing, who have found ourselves on a planet that's spinning throughout space, and we're just insignificant specks and talking monkeys and all this other bullshit. But if you pause and look at everything, so Rogan talked about this on an Instagram live, because he caught a lot of flack for allowing people with different opinions than the status quo to come on a show and share their fucking opinion. I guess that's not allowed anymore. Crazy to me. But what he said was, there was a time when if you had said that this virus or whatever came from a lab, you would have gotten pulled from social media, right? And now it turns out it's true, right? And there was a time when you would have said, cloth masks don't work, right? I saw people putting anything on their face, like t-shirts, fucking nylon, like that. It didn't work. It just, as long as you're covering your face, whatever. And sidebar, like a lot of this stuff, like kind of low key, like I wonder, like if there was something really to worry about, like if this shit was like the bubonic plague, like we would be so fucked. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. That's not what the point of this episode is. But people came out and said like these things that were being forced put on our faces don't work. But if you would have said that, you would have gotten censored. And now it's official. People are saying this, right? So he's coming out and he's pointing things out, and he's saying like, we kind of jump down the throats of people who are speaking against the status quo. But as time progresses, we're starting to see that we were lied to, or if you don't want to believe that we were being lied to, that's fine. But we were definitely misinformed, right? And as time has progressed, a lot of what people who had like attacked a lot of ideas, a lot of things that were being said that the general public and the mainstream media attacked turned out to be true. So if at that point in time, if you learn nothing from 2020 and 2021, learn this. Everybody's full of shit. Nobody knows what the fuck they're talking about. And you can have experts that can say literally whatever you want them to say. If you want experts to tell you, for example, eggs are good for you, you can find experts that will tell you that eggs are good for you, because it's an opinion that people can get enough facts to validate whatever opinion they want to validate. And I use opinion intentionally. There's another book called Science Fictions by Stuart Ritchie. I'd recommend that you read that. I don't agree with all of his conclusions. I don't agree with all of his conclusions. But it's a good read for 85% of the content on there. And it teaches you about just how what we think of as peer review journals and research and things like that, and we accept this shit as infallible. They're not infallible. They are just as subject to fraud and bias and just outright like bribery and lies as like anything else that we see in the human condition, right? If priests can harm children, right? Not all, but some, right? Then what we consider experts can also lie. So this trust the science mantra that has become sort of this motto to basically make people stop questioning things is dumb. Okay, like it doesn't mean anything. What is the science? It's like a modern version of saying, well, just trust the Bible, right? Or just trust the Quran, or just trust, the Torah, whatever it is, right? It's a book, right? But there are other books, right? It's like saying trust religion. Okay, which religion? Because you could throw a dart and hit a religion, and each religious book can say something. And even within the same book, you can have thousands of people interpreting the same chapter or the same verse in different ways and standing adamantly and saying, like, I am right. So you need to understand that. And I'm saying all that to now say, pause and take a step back. Perhaps the ideas that have filled our minds, our minds have been filled with about the nature of our reality, what we're doing here, are worth taking with a grain of salt as well, are worth challenging as well, right? What did I say? Like, look, you have your mind, you have your own brain, just like other philosophers have. Form your own philosophy on the nature of this reality. Form your own philosophy about the nature of this reality. That's what this podcast is. That's what I do. I'm an artist, but I'm also a thinker. I'm also a logician, right? I'm also a reader. I'm a philosopher. So I take all of these concepts, all of these ideas, and I say, and I come up with ideas about what this world is. Because until I see shit for myself, look, you can tell me there's Mars and Venus and all. The people who have told us this stuff, I'm not saying space isn't real. I'm just saying I haven't seen this shit for myself. So I'm going to take this with a grain of salt. I'm not saying the earth is flat. Like, that's fine, because I don't fucking know. I'm saying I don't know. Okay? Even the simulation hypothesis, I lean heavy into it because it's what makes the most sense for me. But at the end of the day, I don't fucking know. And I won't know. And if I don't know whether or not, like, here's a fun thought I had the other day. I was like in the shower, and I was like, we're told by officials, right, that we are the only planet that is occupied by, sentient beings or life, right? But we're told by the same officials that also said that, Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. We're also told by the same officials who said that, the crown virus thing did not come out of a lab, right? We're also told by the same, like, think about it. I need you to pause and think about the same motherfuckers who keep lying to you. It's like, I rail against listening to the voice in your head, your internal monologue, because it consistently fucking lies to you. So I'm saying, like, if don't listen to it every time you sit and listen to your internal monologue, it's just making shit up. And that's the hardest thing. That's why a lot of people struggle with anxiety and fucking depression, because they stay listening to that voice. So it's easier for me to say, just don't listen to it. It's harder in practice. And I know. Okay. So, but what has helped me with my anxiety and my depression is to recognize that this voice in my head, sometimes I still get sucked in. I fall into a hypnosis, like Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff, the philosopher, you can research his work, but he talks about how, like, mankind is in a state of trance. Like, we're constantly hypnotized by this sort of voice, right? So I'm aware of it. And even with me being aware that this voice in my head is full of shit, right? I've read No Self, No Problem, and it by Chris Liebauer, and it talks about, like, it breaks down the mechanic. It's the left brain. It's, it's a security system. Its job really is to just fucking pull information, pull data from wherever, and just give you shit to be afraid of, just to essentially make it so that you can survive. Right. But because we have no natural, threats, it just has now created threats out of everything. And so that's why a lot of us are anxious and depressed and angry and reactive or whatever, because we have this, like, system in our head that just keeps going off. OK, so I know in theory what it is. And what has helped me the most is when it starts talking, I go, well, this thing is not accurate. So I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not always successful, but I'm just saying this is what works. But part of it, why it works, is that I'm not going to keep listening to something that is proven time and time again to be a liar, to be inaccurate, right? So let's take it back to the government, right? We are told, and I'm not talking about the U.S. government, I'm talking about internationally, okay? We are told, and we're shown images, even though they tell us that these things are, computer generated, but that's besides the point. Like, let's not, like, I don't know why we keep glossing over the fact that they're telling us a lot of these images are computer generated, okay? But we're told that it's just us. And okay, you can take that belief we're told by individuals who have systemically lied to us, all right? Like, the older you get, the more you realize that all that money you spent for college and in school was fucking waste, right? Like, it's history has been rewritten, right? We pause and now we look back and realize, like, it's a lot. It's like, there's literally a book called Lies My Teachers Told Me, right? So we're constantly being lied to. Do you think that's going to be the thing that's true? Like, if you're going to question things, then question fucking everything, right? If I was a North Korean and I lived in North Korea, right? If I were, right? And I was raised to just trust the government, I would believe wholeheartedly everything that North Koreans are told about the world, about their standing in the world, about Kim Jong-un, and who he is and how the rest of the world perceives. And that would be my fucking reality. I would just accept that because that's the reality that was given to me. I would think that the United States was conquered by, the great Kim Jong-un, right? I would just accept that shit because that is what we are told. And my response to that is, how do we know that all the shit that we are holding on to as a belief and perception of what this reality isn't the same bullshit that a person in North Korea is also, programmed with as well? If it can happen in a country, it can happen to an entire planet. If it can happen in a country, it can happen to an entire planet. At this point in my life, fuck, everything is up in the air. I don't believe shit. I don't believe anything. I don't even believe, like, my own theories. Like, I will come on the podcast and I will talk about it, but then I can come on the podcast next week and be like, oh, I read this shit, so now this is what I think. I don't believe shit. Right? Okay, they went up to space. But if you look up, like, Bezos took his giant, dick-shaped rocket to space. But if you look at where they're actually going, where the International Space Station, technically, yes, they are in space. But if I jumped up high enough, you could also say that I'm in space. So it's just, I would do that with considerably less amount of money. They're not that far. off. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson, there's a Business Insider video that he's like kind of mocking the whole thing. Go on YouTube and type in, or go on Google or DuckDuckGo and type in Neil deGrasse Tyson Business Insider. And he shows like a globe, and he says, you know, when they say we go to the space, like this is Earth, and when they say they go to space, it's like an inch off the surface. It's a very small, so like, until I'm like, they figure out a way to get us like proper, like past the Van Allen radiation belt, and I can see shit for myself, I don't believe shit. Which means I don't believe that, yeah, it's going to come back to aliens, guys. I don't believe that it's just us. Why should I? Open your mind at this point. If you've learned nothing from 2020, like, open your mind at this point. Like, oh, okay, we're told it's just us by the same people who chronically lie to us. If it wasn't just us, if there were like literally like a civilization of fucking what we would call aliens, right? But they're just highly evolved human beings, right? Just like imagine a North Korean in North Korea, right? They were told that it's just North Korea. So that's it. Like there was a fucking nuclear war. I said imagine. Okay, so just don't leave that word out. But imagine in North Korea, they were told that there was like a nuclear war and like all of the world was wiped out. And it was just them. And then every once in a while, though, like an airplane would fly, and they didn't even like know that airplanes existed. And every once in a while, like a fucking like Delta airline airplane or something like that, or Lufthansa would fly over them. I don't even know. Are they even allowed? I think their airspace is protected. But just let's say somebody gets fucking lost, right, and just flies over them, right? But you would like look up and be like, what the fuck is that? Right? And then somebody would be like, oh my God, those are like aliens. And then the government would be like, that you didn't see anything, it was a weather balloon. Right? But all the while, there's fucking like the world's still going. Like the United States is still a country. We're doing our shit over here, but they believe it's just them. Doesn't mean that it's just them. I'm just saying fucking question everything. We see some shit on there. At this point, it's 2022 now. Like you can't, if you still don't think that there are more advanced, I'm not even going to call them aliens anymore because it's just, that's dumb. Because you don't know where they're coming from. It could be coming from beneath the surface. It could be coming from fucking Mars. You don't know. Like we're told that Mars is on. I don't know how this became an episode about aliens. You see what I mean? Because honestly, I sat down to have like an esoteric talk about like, you know, free will and determinism and free will being an illusion and just going with the flow. Like I read the Osho, and somehow it's turned into like aliens. And I'm not going to call them aliens. I'm going to call them extraterrestrials, because extraterrestrial just means that they're from from other lands. All right. And I've kind of said this before, but I'm going to keep saying it, guys. Like, I don't think, because we're seeing them in the sky. And so we're told, well, if they're in the sky from out of space, but I see planes in the sky, I don't assume an airplane is coming from another fucking planet. Like, it could literally just be they could literally just be like Atlantis literally could be legit. And then here we are, our basic ass fucking like existence, bored as fuck, thinking like cell phones and computers are like the pinnacle of our like civilization. And meanwhile, or like of mankind, right? Meanwhile, there's like super advanced human beings outside of like the 7 continents that we know of, let's say beyond Antarctica or something like that, where they fucking like can teleport and have like holograms and all that other shit. And I'm saying all that to say this: if you guys, not you guys listening, sorry, but the more advanced humans, if you happen to pick this up, can you come get me? I'm just kidding. I love everyone that I'm living with right now. You guys are awesome. But I'm just saying, like, I want to see some shit for myself. I'll come back. I promise I won't tell anybody except for people who listen to the podcast. But can you guys just come get me? I'm bored. But yeah, saying all of that to say, like, think outside the box. Think outside the box that have been put in our minds as to the nature of our reality. Go outside, open your eyes, take a step, and look around and realize that what has confined your mind are the belief systems that have been imposed on you by people who have fucking lied to you since you could literally, like, remember. Okay? So maybe you should take nothing that they say seriously, and maybe you should just think for yourself. Maybe you should form your own ideas as to what this world is. Maybe you should question everything. Maybe you should challenge everything. All right? I've had people ask me, well, how do you know what you're saying is true? I don't. But I do know what I've been told to believe is not true. Because the people who are telling me never tell the fucking truth. So I'm going to just figure some shit out on my own. I'm going to read what I can. I can come to my own conclusions about the nature of this reality. And what I'm leaning towards is that, first and foremost, base level, all of the shit that we think this world is not true, because it's just not. Because the people, like I said, who are telling it to us are fucking liars. Second thing, pivoting back. Going with the flow. I had a friend who worked at a job that they really wanted, but it wasn't like their dream job. It was just a job that allowed them to do what they wanted to do, but it wasn't like a dream job. Okay. And I've watched this friend over the years, like, sort of like try to make things work in this job and do a good job, but not their dream job. And then they try to like sell their house, and still stay at this job, but like it wouldn't work. And then they would try to sell their house and it wouldn't work. And they would try to sell the house and it wouldn't work. And then all of a sudden their boss out the blue just started coming for them. And I was like, oh, what's going on? It's crazy. And they're like, yeah, I don't understand. And this boss was like, kind of going out of the way to like create a hostile work environment, to make it so that like she would like quit. And, it seemed weird. And all I could say to her was, just go with the flow. Like, you're not in control. You have no idea why your boss is acting this way. Your boss has no idea why they're acting this way. But just, I know it's stressful, but just go with the flow. And they were saying, this is a very loyal individual. And they were like, I love the people at my work. But like, I don't have to put up with this. And if this boss keeps pushing me, I will, I think I'm just going to have to like step down. And, right. And this person is pretty loyal. Like, they'll just stay and put up with a bunch of shit, just because that's just who they are in their nature. But then the dream job came on the market. And right when the dream job came on the market, they were approached. My friend was approached by a buyer to buy their house. And she applied for the job. And in a very short amount of time, she got the new job. And then her house sold. And now she's about to start this new position. And it took, let's say, a year, 2 years for all of this to play out. And in the moment when she was sort of butting heads with her boss, it seemed kind of like chaos, right? Like, why all of a sudden is this boss coming for me? But if the boss didn't behave in the way that they behaved, it would not have made it so that she would go look for another job. And by her looking for another job, she was able to get her dream job. And it kind of just all worked out. But the thing is, imagine if she would have just allowed herself to be stressed out. Because she actually listened to me. Because I was just like, well, if this is going on, it's because like whatever is happening in this space, it's like it's the universe, the greater intelligence, whatever you want to call it, is trying to sort of move you to a different path, I think. And you don't resist, right? Don't have any desires. Because sometimes your desire, because she could have had a desire to like just to force things to work at that job, despite all the chaos and everything, basically saying like you've outgrown this place, because that's what was going on. Even her boss, who was being really aggro for no fucking reason and didn't realize that they were actually helping her like move to a situation that was going to be better. The boss didn't know what he was doing. He was just sort of taken over by the narrative and was just lashing out in ways that he probably didn't even understand. But in hindsight, you look back and you see how everything kind of fell into place. Like, I don't want to like drown you guys out with the details of her story, but there was so much happening that it just seemed like the entire like universe was trying to converge and push her down this path of like where she needed to be. And I would also argue that the fact that she had this desire, right? What do I always say? desire and outcome are linked. They're the same. Because the fact that she had this desire for this dream job, you have to be mindful of. Where did that desire come from? Why wasn't it a desire for a different job? Well, because it was something that she was eventually going to attain. It's all linked. And I saw this shit play out. And I sat back and I watched. And I said, this is confirmation of an intelligence, of a greater force. This is not, we're not living in an inert planet like we're told. We are living within a greater intelligence that literally is just formulating narratives. They keep telling us that there's, everything is random and nothing matters, and it's all just random, and you just live and you die. And I'm telling you, that's one of the greatest fucking lies. Sit back and fucking pay attention. And the universe, the greater intelligence, I don't even want to say the universe, it's a fucking intelligence. The Hindus call it Brahma rather, or Brahman. But this shit is, the longer I live, the more tangible I can almost hear it. I can almost feel it. I can almost sense it. It's a powerful force. It's not a force that you could find in any biblical fucking books. Throw that shit out. I'm sorry. Throw the books out. Throw the religious books out. It's in you. You can sense this. Sense it. Look up, pay attention. Look at your life. Yes, it may not necessarily be the life that you desired exactly. But you can see that something is shaping your path. And it's an intelligence. Because like I said, it's not random. In order for things to happen, in order for you to be listening to this podcast at this moment, and whatever it is that you needed to take from it, you will take from it. But it's going to be well-tuned and well-timed. Whatever it is that's coming out of my mouth, you needed to hear. They're not even my words. I'm just opening my mouth and words are coming out, and they're going to click for you. That's an intelligence of which I'm just a fucking vessel, of which you are just a fucking vessel. So if that's not enough of fucking a reason for you to just take a step back and let go, keep paying attention. Because the more aware of this force you become, the more it makes itself known. You can sense it. I was a control freak. And in the last few years, just the longer I am in existence, or the longer I'm existing within this avatar, the more I'm realizing I don't control anything. So trying to control things is just like thrashing against the water. You're fighting against a force, you will drown. You have to just go with the flow. You can't control what happens. You just have to trust that everything that's happening is for some greater good. You just have to trust that everything that's happening is for some greater good. I sat down worried about whether or not I would know what to say. And I'm 58 minutes in, and it all came out. I've done this with my art. I used to sit and wonder, okay, what am I going to paint? And I had people ask me this: do you sketch things out? No. Because I'm not the creator. I don't sketch shit out. I have a bunch of references that I collect. I pull out a blank canvas, I scroll through my references on my phone, and I go, okay, that feels good. I pick that, and I go with it, and I just start painting. And then I go with how I feel now, not what I think. And I allow the fucking force, may the force be with you. I allow the force to guide me. Same thing with when I write. I sit down and I'm not a writer. I just allow the information to flow through me. I guarantee you, if you practice this, and if you stop trying to be an artist and just create, if you just stop trying to be a writer and just write, stop trying to be what you already are and just be, right? Trying is the issue, because trying gets you stuck in this mindset of like there's a flow of time, and if you work through something, then eventually you'll get to a place where you can be. And I'm saying, and I've said, and others have said as well, that flow of time is an illusion. All of time is happening right now. So it's just more of whatever it is that you're setting out to create. And it doesn't have to be something tangible. It could be the life. It could be your life itself could be a work of art. It could be a connection. It could be a friendship, whatever it is that you have a desire for. The fact that you have the desire, that within itself is a navigation it's telling you, it's directing you down a particular path. Sam Harris says free will. He talks about this. You just wake up and you don't know why today you had a desire to do something, a strong desire to do something that you didn't yesterday. Where did the desire come from? And my argument is that desire comes from you already experiencing it and actualizing it now in the future. So go with your desires, watch your reactions. And even when you do react, throw and remove regret, because that reaction within that moment, if you lost control, remember, like in last week's episode, I said I lost control to the narrative. The narrative took over, right? So I was like communicating with a friend, and then all of a sudden, like they said something, and even though I knew to just put my phone down, like I say this stuff, but I lost control to the narrative, and I said, like I said something, and I don't regret it. Because I that was not me. That was the narrative taking over. And whatever I needed to say, whatever I said, had to have been said at the time that I said it, because I said it. And so it doesn't make any sense to regret anything. That was what was supposed to happen, because it fucking happened. And when you start looking at life that way, look, you don't have to take my word for it. That job you want, you can't will yourself into the job. I've kind of talked about people saying, oh, you manifest shit. Okay, well, fine. But understand that that's not what's going on. If you have a desire for something and then you put in you show up and you do what needs to be done, and then that desire gets actualized, understand that desire was inherent in you because it's linked to the actualization, retrocausality, the future, quote, the future affecting the past. You're not manifesting something, you're actualizing it. And that desire just came from nowhere. Even the desire is not really your desire. It's just something that kind of was thrown on you by whomever, whatever is controlling the greater narrative. So mind that. But also mind that you don't have any strong pulls, like in the clinical definition of desire, strong pull where you want something so desperately that if you don't get it, it causes you suffering and pain. And understand that you wanting something so desperately is no guarantee that you're going to get it. You have to just go with the flow. There's a stronger force at hand, of which we are part of it. We are just little sort of fragments. Play your part. Or maybe let the part play you. It's an easier way to live than the alternative. One more thing, and I'll leave you with this. What Osho talks about is now. There's always peace in now, right? The mind likes to hallucinate. So it throws you in the past, and then you suffer, right? You start thinking about, oh, what happened? What's the point? Every time you think about the past, you're thrashing against the flow. Every time you think about the future, you're thrashing against the flow. When you regret or you're anxious, what does that serve beyond just wasted energy? But if you pull yourself in the present and you hold still now, you focus on now, but you step one foot at a time, and there's peace in the now. And the way you say in the now is by holding on to the realization, the understanding that there's nothing that you control. There's not much that you can control. Why did I start making smoothies and eating my greens today? I've been buying them for almost a year, and most of them have been going in the trash. But somebody inspired me. It wasn't even me working out, had nothing even to do with me. Somebody inspired me to work out. On that particular day, I'm 36 years old. It's not like I didn't have plenty of inspiration, but that particular individual had to come into my life and affect me in a particular way. And in that moment in time, that's when I decided, quote, okay. That's when I started working out. Just go with the flow. You're not in control. The control is an illusion. You might as well just roll with it. Observe. Watch. It's like analogy I'd use on the Dark Oracle's Guide to the Multiverse. It's like watching a show. Ever notice when we're watching a movie or TV show, we start yelling at the characters? Like that our frustration is going to change something that has been filmed years ago. I do this shit all the time. I don't know about you. But like, oh, you fucking idiot. Like, why would you do that? Like, because they were written that way. Like, they're playing a part and they had to play that part so the story can happen. That's it. So that person that cut you off, they had to cut you off at that exact moment. Every time I get cut off now, what I say to myself is, this person cut me off at this exact moment to slow me down. Because maybe if I was going a little bit faster, something would have happened and I would have died. That's how I look at it. It's all for the greater good. I'll leave you one last thing. Today I was driving my Jeep. I stopped at a light and I caught a reflection of my car on the back of like a Mercedes, a BMW, one of those small like electric cars. And I caught a reflection of my Jeep, my red Jeep. It's a beautiful car. And for a split second, because I couldn't see myself, I identified as a fucking Jeep. It's fucking crazy. And then I laughed. And I said to my daughter, I said, we do this. We do this with our bodies, right? We're born into these bodies. It's kind of crazy, right? If I said, like, if that statement, I identify as a Jeep, you would be like, you're fucking insane. But I felt that for a second. I was like, I'm a good-looking Jeep, right? It sounds crazy. But we do that with our bodies, right? From birth, because we cannot see the driver of the vehicle that is a human body, we open, all we see are reflections. All we see is a mirror, right? And because we can't see the driver of the vehicle, we identify with what we see in our reflection. And we go, that's me. I'm great. I'm tall. I'm beautiful. I'm handsome. I'm smart. So we think that we are the vehicle when we're nothing but the driver. On my way back from dropping my daughter off from school, I got stuck behind a van, and the name of the van was called Soul Transportation. And I thought, here's another message. And soul was spelled S-O-L, like sun, like the Spanish word for sun, but it still was communicating with me, right? Soul transportation, right? This body is a vehicle in which my soul is transported through space-time to wherever it is I'm going to get off, wherever my exit is to the next place. Now, this was something I was talking about earlier in this episode. I'm going to finish. Thank you. I was just reminded of it randomly. But here's what I thought. Going back to enlightenment, right? And people are saying that I'm enlightened. I'm not enlightened in the traditional sense. And I'm just aware. Now, Osho did define enlightenment as simple awareness, just awareness that you are not the body, that you are not in control, and that literally everything is just a state of flow and you're just with it, right? And it's that simple. But what I said to the person who said this to me, I said was, I don't, that's not even something as a point of pride to me, right? The reason why I know what I know is because everything is super familiar to me. And the reason why things are super familiar to me is because I've probably lived the same life before. But then that just means I'm an idiot, right? Like, think about it. Like, most people, go through like each grade just the one time, right? And then they move on to the next place and to the next place. The reason why I know so much and everything is so familiar and I seem so awake and so enlightened is because I've had to loop the same shit over and over again. Like, I'm just a repeater, which just means I'm an idiot, right? Like, I'm repeating, right? I'm a super senior, right? Don't elevate me. Don't look at me as like, oh my gosh, like you're so aware and you're so conscious. It just means like if you loop the same life, if you watch the same movie over and over again, after a while, the plot becomes really familiar and the lines kind of come out of your mouth and you just kind of speak the lines. And if somebody looks at you and they're watching the movie for the first time and then you start reciting the lines and they look at you and they go, wow, how did you must speak like psychic or something. How did you know what they were going to say? The normal response is like, no, I've watched this several times. So I memorized the words. Like, it's familiar to me. Like, it's, so to me, it's like, don't elevate me for being dumb. Like, once I leave this loop, once I break free of this loop and I go to the next place, I will be, there are more enlightened, if you want to use the word, more conscious, like in it, like more aware entities, in which I will be like babies to them. And same with the Buddha, same with Christ, same with Osho, and same with Eckhart Tolle, and same with all of these, same with you. You are awake, you are conscious, you are aware. But don't hold on to that shit as a point of pride. Understand that the reason why you're looking around and going, wait, I think this is not, this is a false construct or it's a simulation, or is because you've looped this shit so many times that you understand that this is not your first go, even if it's on a subconscious level. But it's not a point of pride. It's just an understanding that, okay, you've done this so many times and now it's probably your last go and you're probably going to reincarnate. But in the other part of the earth, like right now we've reincarnated in North Korea. Like metaphorically, North Korea, that's what Earth is. But then once you're done, you're going to reincarnate now into like a different, like to the rest of the world, like let's say America. And then that's going to just have its own set of problems and its own things that you have to like overcome. That's it. And then it just keeps going on and on and on until you become God, which is evolution and then involution. And it just all cycles again. It's not a line. It's a circle. It's a cycle. And we repeat like a wheel through time over and over and over again for all eternity. Yeah. Thanks for listening.